Right, welcome back to Closing Trades.
In the roundup to calendar year 2010. Ashwini Gujral, Sudarshan Sukhani and Anil Rego are joining us at this hour to give us their assessment of today's session. Good afternoon to all three of you. Ashwini, start off with you. What's your own study of the kind of intraday patterns that we've seen in today's trade? I mean, it's been a swing of almost 200-250 points on the Sensex from the lows. Do you see this kind of an up move sustaining itself over the course of the week?
Yeah, that's the operative word, this kind of up move, because it will remain choppy. You will have trading on both sides of the zero mark, and slowly we will head towards 6070. Today, if we close around these levels, today will be the first close above the downward sloping trend line from 63.35 through 6070, and today closing above 5950 would be positive. But I think one more closing above these levels would really ensure that we are headed towards 6070. The momentum appears a bit slow, but in a low volume type of market, and where global situation is quite choppy, you will see this kind of slowish up moves heading further from here as well.
Wow. And a really quick up move that we've seen for Hero Honda, would that continue? Sudarshan, we were talking about this stock the whole of last week, but I'm guessing even you didn't anticipate an 18% move in a single trading session.
No, I don't think many people did anticipate that.
No one did, I'm sure.
In fact, yeah, but I also think that, with thousands of traders and thousands of viewers, I don't think everyone is trading Hero Honda. So while it's big news, I suspect the real trading is going elsewhere. But certainly I did not anticipate, and I do not think it is sustainable.
What about IT, Sudarshan? Because BATS had a fairly good last week, stable in an otherwise falling market, and even in today's session, some of the stocks like Infosys have hit new highs. Can they continue?
Yeah, they have. Yes, they have, and in the morning we had a talk that IT is making new highs and you don't question them. I also need to make a point. I heard Tanveer say that the markets were in some kind of a decline and did nothing, but that's not my impression. My impression is that the markets opened at the low of the day, and after the opening bell have been moving only in one direction, and that's up. The Nifty opened at 59, Nifty futures at 5900 at 7 or 8, and it's now 5980. And that's an 80-point rally from the open. So for a day trader who started trading in the morning, obviously you can't trade in the night. So he has a 70 or 80-point gain, and of which he can capture some part of it. So for a short-term trader, the trend since the morning was very clear. It's absolutely one directional, it's up. I wanted to make that point because a lot of traders would get confused otherwise. In the morning we had suggested that you go long, and that suggestion has been very valid and extremely profitable.
But would you roll your long positions now also, Sudarshan? I mean, is that something that you would take into tomorrow's session as well?
Yes, I would. In fact, that's very sensible. See, as Ashwini just pointed out, if the market closes here, and so far we hope it will be the highest close for the last X number of days. And you want to carry these positions forward. You don't want to cut them. See, a trader naturally does a lot of trade management. If he has multiple positions, some of them would be used to take profits in. But certainly part of it would be carried forward.
Ashwini, just before I go to Anil Rego for a fundamental view, Ashwini, one word from you on the broader end of the market, because a lot of stocks, a lot of liquid names are very active. I've seen the fertilizer stocks today making a move. Some of the financials have made a move. Stocks with news, the likes of EIH, Ispat have seen some serious moves. What's happening here? I mean, is some activity, serious activity returning in the liquid mid-cap space?
See, activity in the broader market starts only once market gets some kind of confidence that immediate downside may be over, and that confidence is probably coming above 5900. So if we can sustain these levels and move higher, whatever fell a lot is likely to rise a lot as well. So from here you will see a much bigger recovery in the mid caps and small caps, but it will depend on whether we are able to sustain 59.50 kind of levels.
Anil, what's your own assessment of the Hero Honda story and where it goes from here?
So I think it's pretty bullish. A stock like Hero Honda, obviously nobody expects such a large move on a single day, and it was more to do with uncertainty about the stake transfer there. Fundamentally, two-wheeler stocks we've been very bullish on. So I think it should sustain for some period of time there. You'll also probably see, talking about the broader market per se, maybe a lot of FIIs coming back in the beginning of the new financial year. So I would think that would also give me a bit of a positive bias on both Hero Honda and the general market per se.
Anil, what do you make of this whole thing that's happening with EIH? I mean, lots of suitors, lots of people speaking about, various stories, but what do you do with EIH now fundamentally?
So I think it's, the hotel space has been a little depressed for some period of time. With the economy doing well, I would expect, as an industry, we should start, they should start doing better there. So, so an industry call would be, it may not be a bad time to, start putting in money on significant declines there. Of course, on EIH hotels, I would think that, they have a decent set of hotels, and I think I would expect it to do pretty well, as a company.
All right, Anil, what would you do? Some of these FMCG names are fairly active today. Colgate-Palmolive up 2.5%. If you look at a couple of others as well, in fact, I don't categorize Asian Paints as an FMCG company, but that one has made a move as well, 2% higher in trade today. What would you do with some of the FMCG majors?
Sure. I would also look for companies where there are growth in the FMCG side. Stock like Colgate, I would probably avoid, again, completely in sync with, the three names. You just got out there, ITC, Hind Lever and Marico. They've all of them have been favorites there. Stocks like Marico also, do provide decent growth opportunities there. And maybe even a Dabur, from a long-term perspective. I think all of these would be better than looking at a stock like Colgate.
In fact, since actually I'll just come back to the point that Sudarshan made, and a question for either you, Ashwini, or Sudarshan, whoever wants to take it. There is somebody else that I was speaking to the other day who was also mentioning about Hindustan Unilever in this 8-year or a 9-year or a 10-year cycle, and he was talking about the stock having the potential in the next 2 to 3 years to reach targets of 1,000, 1,100, and this is a chartist that I'm talking about. You think something like this is plausible, or and no, you can't take such a long call? Ashwini or Sudarshan, either of you?
Well, I think 1,000 is a long call, and this is not a cyclical. This is not Tata Motors which goes to 100 and then goes to 1,000. So that's unlikely. But in case it starts taking out, say, levels of 320, maybe say 400, 410 is possible. But if Hindustan Lever goes to 1,000, then probably the market will go to 30,000. That seems unlikely.
So Sudarshan, on this 10-year cycle theory that you were talking about, what would HUL do? 400, 420 tops?
Once the stock starts moving, we don't know where it ends. We've just seen Infosys and TCS in the same category. So while Ashwini is right, probably the first step would be 400. I wouldn't be so pessimistic. We'll just have I wouldn't say this is going to be the end. So I'm much more upbeat on this stock.
All right. Watch out for HUL though. Both our experts are upbeat on this one. The targets may vary, but both of them are fairly upbeat on this one. As we speak, United Phosphorus, Tanveer, is now down close to 5%, so that one is not having a good day. Mundra Port has been weak throughout the trading session on the MOEF notice, so 2.5% down for that one as well. And some of the banking names, mid-cap banking names, while financials generally have done well today, look at a Union Bank, a Yes Bank, a Federal Bank, all of these are down close to 2.5% in trade. Anil, we were speaking to a couple of fundamental voices in the morning, and they were talking about how financials would continue, to their mind, continue to outperform in 2011. If you were to look at mid-cap banking, is there any stock that you would purchase based on valuations that you believe could outperform for the first 6 months?
Sure. Of course, at this point, I also believe that banks should do well. I would expect broad-based economic revival out there, and so that should broadly drive the banking a little more there. In terms of names, I would at this point maybe still prefer larger cap names like an ICICI Bank. Okay, actually that was something we had put on my call list. And basically because of a clear move towards consolidation, towards looking at profitability, and also I think the Bank of Rajasthan acquisition playing off there. In terms of mid-cap banks, maybe a Karur Vaishya Bank, okay, is something that I would look at.
From the big mid-cap banking lot, have you changed your stance, Sudarshan, on anything right now?
No, the only change, if at all it's a change, is that I get the impression that the mid-cap banks and the large-cap banks will now participate in whatever rally is going on. Earlier they were likely to underperform, but within the banking space I would go for the large names, ICICI Bank and State Bank, and then you go down PNB, Bank of Baroda. It's wiser to stay away from mid-cap banks. They need a lot more base building now.
All right, so mid-cap banking, some bit of base building required before they make a definitive up move. What else is moving? I was just looking at some of the securities in the broader markets, the ones which are smaller and more liquid. So oil country tubular is having a good day, 20% up. Archie's is having a very good day, 13% up. I wish Nikunj was here. He normally mentions about this stock a day before it starts moving, but that one is up 13%. L Forge is up close to 17%. So a couple of these smaller names, Arshia International, ARSS Infra is up close to 10% as well in trade. So Darshan, any of these smaller names, have they caught your eye at all? I mean, and Archie's once in a while makes this sporadic move and then cools off, but any of the others, I mentioned 4 or 5 names, I don't know if you track any.
No, I'm so sorry, I don't track any. But there's a theme here. Mid-cap stocks, small-cap stocks are starting to wake up. So that's interesting.
All right. Ashwini, aside of the ones that we mentioned, the likes of a UTV Software and a couple of others that you mentioned, anything else in the last 15, 20 minutes, 25 minutes that has caught your eye? I mean, in a bit of an uptrend that could be used as a buy today, sell tomorrow as well?
See, something like ARSS, this was a 1400 rupee stock, suddenly fell down to 650. Now it's tried to make 3 panic bottoms. Generally, once a stock does that, 3 lower panic bottoms, it tends to exhaust itself. So probably ARSS, in case the market remains cheerful, could be headed back up to levels of 880 and then maybe even 1000, because it does not seem to be a very bad company, but got hit in those scams. So basically this could have a pullback towards levels of 1000.
Anil, you track this fundamentally? I mean, we just spoke to the management today. They said that there are no fundamental news that are out, but this was a very good listing when it came out. Good subscription, very good listing. As Ashwini said, I mean, not fundamentally doesn't seem to be too bad. But have you looked at ARSS Infra, or for that matter, if you don't track this one, then any other mid-cap, small-cap infrastructure name that has caught your eye?
Sure. I don't track the particular stock, but I think a stock like IRB Infra, which a lot of toll revenues coming in, and by the end of this financial year itself, I would see that some bit of a re-rating happening on the stock. Of course, with interest rates perking up, the whole expansion and huge growth, there are concerns on the borrowing cost there. But I would think that fundamentally stocks like these on the infra side, where you get regular flowing toll type of revenues, are ones which you can happily go and buy in whenever we have a decline in a large way, like what we have seen recently.
All right, gentlemen, stay on with us. Lots more to talk. Anil, what would you do with some of these mid-cap fertilizer stocks? Almost everybody is saying that the sector is a bit of a no-go till some policy clarity emerges. But every now and then, some of these stocks show a bit of activity. What would you do here?
So I would probably stay out of it, till one gets a little more clarity there. So whenever there's a lot of government decision-based stuff, you don't know which way it goes. So it's best to stay out, and that to a sector like fertilizers, which is a little sensitive one. So I would probably stay out of it. There are other sectors which are available there, and not get into fertilizer at this point. Even though you may miss out, it may give rises, but sometimes you don't have to get it right all the time.
Do you see the near-term trend, Sudarshan? Even though you expect resistance to be around 6,000, do you believe that the near-term trend of the market would perhaps be range-bound, that we would hit 6,000 and then perhaps settle into 57, 5,800, and we would just oscillate in that range for the next couple of weeks, and that the traders could essentially play that range to make money?
See, we are in a much wider range, 5,700 to 6,100, but even that's not working out. The market is essentially locked in a much tighter range. On the lower side, we have 5,880. Today is the fifth day when that support is holding. But on the higher side, apart from that 2-hour rally, we've come back down to 59.50. So we have actually a very tight 70-80 point range now. This range will not last for more than a day or two. So what traders should focus on is a breakdown of either 58.80 or a decisive close above 59.50. Either of these events will give them a profitable opportunity. The much wider range is far away.
What about key index heavyweights, such as a Reliance or no ONGC for that matter? How are the chart patterns looking there, Ashwini?
Well, they're broadly sideways. When the market goes down, they go down. When it recovers, they recover. I think Reliance still 1,035, 1,040 on the downside, and basically 1,070 on the upside. ONGC has been in a very narrow range, to 1,290 to about 1,360. So these stocks also need to break out. That is the reason the market is in a tight, narrow range. But I don't think it's about these stocks. It's really about rate sensitives and the way techs react. Techs and pharmas on one side, rate sensitives on the other side, and whichever way the market is able to pull, we'll get the breakout in that direction.
All right, stay on Ashwini and Sudarshan. Anil, thanks so much for taking the time out today and joining us and giving us your fundamental perspective. Have a profitable week ahead. Don't go anywhere.